But the gift that keeps on giving is getting Deshaun Watson the out of your building and getting the
Yeah.
contract completely off your books. Although it might not be that Godfather offer that you're thinking that you're about to get. Listen, I understand that the Browns fans are sitting here saying, I want a Godfather trade offer for Myles Garrett. I want firsts. I want a player, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. I have a proposal, and let me know what you think about it, where Myles Garrett wants a trade. There are some teams with a significant amount of cap on their books. Does it make sense for the Browns to work a way to include Deshaun Watson in one of these trades to a team with a lot of cap space who can go and trade for Myles Garrett? They throw in Deshaun Watson kind of as just like a throwaway contract, but they're able to take it on their books. And it would give that team an opportunity to get one of the best players at their position in the NFL as an edge rusher in Myles Garrett for a discounted price, draft capital wise. But what happens with the Browns is they might get only 1 second round pick or like a third or something like that along those lines. But the gift that keeps on giving is getting Deshaun Watson the out of your building and getting the
Yeah.
contract completely off your books. Although it might not be that Godfather offer that you're thinking that you're about to get, how do you feel about that? Do you think that that's something that could possibly happen?
A few things. So first off, I think you have to find a team that's willing to take on any of that anything related to
Baggage.
Deshaun Watson. Even if it's like even if it's like from a player standpoint, from a salary standpoint, you got to find somebody that's okay with both of those. And then
Mhm.
second, I don't think there is a team that would go out there and say, "Yeah, we'll take the entire contract for a reduced trade package in return," even with Myles Garrett. I think that no matter what happens, these teams are not going to want 100% of that contract. I think the Browns are gonna have to eat a lot of that still, but that's much better long term than
Would
having a
you
guy
even
like
take
that.
would you even say, like, if they were like, we'll do a 60-40 split on this contract, like, it's got to be worth it for them?
Like the Browns eat 40 or the team
Yes,
getting Garrett
The
eats.
Browns eat 40. We'll take on 40% of the contract, you take 60, and we got clean hands on this situation. Just anything
I
to
th-
get Deshaun Watson out of the building.
I think that's way more enticing of a deal if you pair that with Myles Garrett, and then I think the trade return is just going to be 3 picks because I look at it this way, like we saw Jared Goff and Matt Stafford and all these guys like get moved via trade and stuff like that, and we've seen guys get traded for a bunch of picks, but like it's mainly seems like it's quarterbacks. I don't know if you're going to get the same type of haul back from a team, even though it is one of the best defensive players in the NFL towards the end of like towards the back part of his prime, I would say. Is kind of how I'm looking at it. So I don't even know if I would come into it with the Browns as a Browns fan or a Browns front office and be like, all right, we're going to get an absolute haul for this guy. I just don't think that that's something that's going to happen just because I think the quarterback position is like so much more coveted and can just completely re change the building. Like we
I think
saw
good.
Matt Stafford go in right away and win a Super Bowl. Like
Yeah, it's so hard. I think it's hard to put apples to apples with the quarterback
it
position,
is.
but I think probably
Anyway,
the
and
deal
quarterback in any other position.
I think the deal that makes the most sense is the Khalil Mack deal when he got traded from the Raiders and went to the Bears. The Bears sent 2 firsts, a sixth, and a third in 2020. So 1, 2, 3, 4 picks, 2 first round picks. I think that's closer to what we're thinking of here. But I think that if you're the Browns, how do you not sit there and just be like, honestly, give us your second this year, your second next year, and a fourth, and you take on 60% of this Deshaun Watson contract and take Myles Garrett? That gives an opportunity where they need to reset regardless. Like this
They
Browns
do.
team, like they just need to reset. You're in a division with Joe Burrow, you're in a division with Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers, although I hate them, they somehow are always like okay every single year. So I think that to see any real significant change in this organization is to kind of just we got to start fresh at this point.
Is there a team though that is a Myles Garrett? I know the NFL and the NBA aren't the same when it comes to trades, and I don't know how the Browns will end up doing it. I think they'll probably try to get the best available. But is there a world where they try to do good on Myles Garrett and him being there his entire career and try to trade him away to some type of contender?
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's likely they just go best offer, but like
At a point,
that puts you in a scenario as all of these other teams like, okay, great, we have Myles Garrett now. We're maybe a few games better, and now we're also taking on 60% of a Deshaun Watson contract. Like, is this really worth it for us?
I
And
do
then,
have the team.
but the upper echelon of teams, are they in a spot where they can afford to take on 60% and fully reap the benefits of having Myles Garrett? I don't know if there is a team.
I think that the 8-9 Cardinals, the team that went 8-9 last year in the NFC West, who started off super hot, has a ton of cap on their books right now, who can take on the Deshaun Watson contract. And whoever trade, the reality that everybody needs to remember at this point is whoever trades for Myles Garrett is going to have to pay him immediately.
Correct.
That's the point. So you need to be in a situation where you can handle both of those things.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that the team that could reap the benefits of having somebody like Myles Garrett is the Cardinals. They went 8-9 last season. Their defense was frisky the entire year. Their passing game wasn't the best, but their offense was top 10 DVOA the entire season. They play in a tough division with the San Francisco 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks won 10 games and didn't make the playoffs. So I think that is a team, and it's a tight race, tight knit division. And I think getting an opportunity to get one of the best players at their position on your team right now, even if he's about to be 30 years old, absolutely matters. So that's the team that I think makes the most sense. That's the dance partner in my head. And obviously there's some other teams at the top who have the cap space to do it and all of that and could take on Myles Garrett and do all of this. But like you said, are they going to really reap the benefits of this? Probably not. But I think that the Cardinals made the playoffs two years ago when they started off the season like 10-1, and Kyler obviously tore his ACL, missed that middle of the season into the next middle of the season, finally had a full healthy year. They went 8-9. You add somebody who's an absolute X factor like that, they reap the benefits of getting somebody like that in the building.
Do we think are we giving the Browns too much credit for even considering the fact that they would try to work in trading Deshaun Watson?
I think that there are going to be teams in the NFL who are viewing this as an opportunity to get one of the best players in the league on their team at a discounted rate from a draft capital perspective, being able to keep all of your top draft picks, but being able to acquire one of those guys by looking at them being like, we will take that problem off of your hands.
That's not even my point of like, if another team doesn't bring it up is what I'm saying. Like,
I think
yes,
teams will bring it up.
do you think the Browns would even be like, all right, he already requested a trade. This whole Deshaun Watson thing isn't working.
No.
Maybe we can try and pair them together. Like, I don't even know if the Browns are smart enough to bring that up in conversations. Like,
I don't think
I agree with you saying that other teams would offer it, but
I don't think they
don't
want
even know
that offer. I don't think they want that offer. They want the Myles Garrett offer. They want 2 first-round picks, a 6th and a 3rd next year. Like, they want all the picks. Like
They want the capital.
they're like, fuck this, like whatever with Deshaun Watson. But at a point, like if I'm a team right now and I could take on both these contracts and keep the integrity of the rest of my team as well and my draft capital, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, we will take this problem off your hands, wipe it clean, take a draft quarterback at the top of the draft, and you'll never have to think of the Deshaun Watson contract ever again. It is the worst trade and contract in NFL history. Get that stench off of your franchise. That's what I'm offering. I think that they'll sit there and look at it and be like, fuck, like, I don't know. I really want those. I want those 2 firsts. Like, I want these picks.
They still have the second pick overall anyways. They're not going to have to give that up. And they're going to suck again next year. They're going to have a top 5 pick again next season.
For sure. But back to your point.
Regardless of Myles Garrett being there.
Back to your point, I don't think that it has anything to do with like being dumb or smart or whatever. I just think it's them being like, we really would probably like the most draft capital possible. I just think in my eyes, that's dumb. I think it sounds more appealing to get that contract, get the Deshaun Watson contract pretty much off your books, even if it's not 100% of it. If it's 75% of it, if it's 50% of it, it's probably going to be worth it for you over the next 2 years and get that like literal cancer out of your building.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think it's dumb for them not to try to offload the Deshaun Watson contract for draft capital.
Yeah.
I think they're better off getting a guy like Deshaun Watson out of the building, off the books, and starting from scratch. Because even if you have Myles Garrett next season, what does it really mean? You're going to win 5 games again. Like, they're just not a good team, and they just don't have like the bones in place for that. And I understand you get better via draft capital, but you also can get better from not having one of the worst contracts in NFL history on your books.
100%. 100%. I'm right with you. You still get some picks anyway. It's just not the original deal that you thought.
Yeah, I'm following. But in another world, you could end up getting a first round pick for Myles Garrett.
It's just
removing, even if you don't offer the Watson part of it.
But you've seen the teams that have been linked to Myles Garrett, like even a Cardinals, like the Cardinals picking at 16 this year. So like, is it really worth giving up a first round pick to then sit there and be like, well, we're picking at 16, like blah, 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 whatever. Like, it's not like, unless if you were sending them to a spot where it's like what the Bears did with the Panthers, where the Bears went and had extra draft capital in the first round because of how bad the Panthers were. So maybe a situation like that.
White clouds blowing out when we max 4-5, not the size, but it kick up.